are some intangibles that those projections failed to take into consideration.
The crowd was going crazy. There's not much in life that's better than that.
You're listening to Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys on the 95.7 The Game Podcast Network.
Hello there. Welcome back to the Garlic Fries and Baseball Guys podcast. Sam Lubman here with Joe the Butcher Boy Shasky, as always, coming at you with some more Giants content at the end of the first half. This is episode 65. 65, Shasky. It was 1965 when Juan Marichal and Johnny Roseboro had the infamous brawl at Candlestick. It was August 22nd at the Stick. That was part of a weekend-long gripe fest that kind of exploded on that Sunday afternoon. You know, Roseboro and Marichal were going at it all weekend long, and Roseboro wanted Koufax to hit Marichal on that Sunday start. Sandy Koufax, being the guy that he is, didn't want to do it. So as we all remember, Roseboro threw the ball back to Koufax, and it nicked Marichal's ear, and Marichal turned around and kind of whacked him on the head with the baseball bat, which you're not supposed to do.
Kinda.
Benches cleared, and it was a massive fine. I think it was like, at the time, it was the largest fine. I think it was like $1,500 was the fine, but that was the largest fine ever accumulated by a baseball player at that time. So, yeah, Giants-Dodgers, that's a dicey rivalry at times.
I love it. I love it. Sam, what'd you think of the first half of the Giants? I know it's technically a little beyond the first half.
You know, 90 games down, and let's start off with some of the positives here in the first half. You know, I'm feeling a little positive right now because the Giants won 1-0 today. We are recording this on Sunday, July 9th. Most of you will probably be hearing this on the 10th, though, when we release it. Overall, though, on the first half, there's a more positive feel, I feel, right now than you had probably at this time last year. I know the Giants were an above 500 team last year going into the All-Star break, but there was something just a little off about the team that just something didn't feel right. Like, this was not the 2021 Giants that we were looking at, you know, last year. And you saw that kind of that bad feeling kind of manifest itself in the second half, where the team really kind of fell apart down the stretch here. Right now, I don't see that being quite the case this year, but I think the big reason for that, and we've talked about this at length already, it's the influx of young guys have really changed the vibe that the first half of this season has given versus the first half last year. And I guess the question is, does the young guys being here kind of mean that grind we saw in the second half, do the Giants avoid that in the second half? That's going to be the big question. But off the rip, biggest thing I'm seeing is, it's the young guys. It's the farm system. They're coming. The future is arriving. It's slowly matriculating into the big league level. What are you seeing there, Shasky?
And talking about big picture first half thoughts, Camilo Doval has emerged as a superstar in terms of being one of the top three guys at his position. I think Logan Webb has proven why he got the contract extension, even though the overall win-loss record doesn't look great. Look at all the advanced numbers. He's been a stud, a complete game shutout today, 10 strikeouts. I mean, he's just a total punctuation mark after starting off the season 0-4. You know, this is a guy that could have easily stuck his head between his tail and gone home, or his tail between his legs, and gone home. I mean, think about Barry Zito when he first came to the Giants with that big contract weighing over him and things weren't going well. It felt like it snowballed. Did it ever feel like it snowballed on Logan Webb?
No, it never did.
Yeah, and so I think that's a huge, first half story. Patrick Bailey, another great first half story. I thought he was excellent in the first half. Conforto, coming back from injury, excellent. What a great acquisition. Boy, I'd love to have him for another year, you know? And then Casey Schmidt and Luis Matos, works in progress is what I would say. I think both guys have little things that they can work on. We can get into each individually, but I am seeing progress. They do start to have some pillars, but the reality is, as I've said since day one, this is playing out the way I want to because I'm seeing the young guys and they're showing progress and they're not yo-yoing him back and forth to AAA. I mean, I didn't even bring up Blake Sable. I didn't bring up Tyro Estrada. Unfortunately, he's hurt, but I mean, he's had an excellent first half. Like, there's a lot of really good stories. The bullpen, Alex Cobb, go around. This has been a fun team. Is it the most fun I've had watching Giants baseball? No, but it's a lot more fun than I signed up for originally.
I think that's a good point. It is fun. Fun is a good word to put it at. Because that was kind of what we've been kind of griping about last year. It's like, even when the team was good last year, there wasn't a whole lot of enjoyment there. And I think that is kind of a big difference this year is that, there's the vibe around the team, even after losses. Cause I've said, if you could lose a game, but take away a positive, you could still that's not a win, but you're feeling good about that. You didn't really have that last year. We did have Farhan Zaidi talk to the media on Friday night. His, end of the first half, we all crammed into this office at the back of the press box, and we got 30 minutes with him. And one of the things that kind of I wanted to ask him is kind of what we're talking about right now. What's the biggest difference between this year and last year? And this is what Farhan had to say.
That's a tough question to answer because honestly, for a lot of the first half last year, we were like 5-10 games over 500. So if you kind of did the game by game charting of our record, it probably doesn't look that different, through this point. It's a really hard one to answer. I think some of it just comes down to the psychology and, how fans feel about the team. Everything has so much to do with what the expectations were. We were coming off a 107-win season, and we were kind of 5-10 games over 500. It just felt a little bit disappointing. And this year, whether justifiably or not, I think expectations were low, and then we got off to a bad start and started playing a lot better, and it got people really excited.
So basically, I don't know, why does this year feel better is because it's coming off of a year that set a low bar versus 2022 is coming off a year that set a high bar.
Yes.
Shasky, are you buying any of that at all?
A little bit. I just think we're overthinking it. Like, young guys are coming up and contributing, and the guys that everybody kind of liked, and Doval and Logan Webb, are showing out. I mean, let's be honest. Do you want me to take a look at his free agency track record? Because that hasn't been great.
Yeah, we can get into the negatives in the next segment.
I know, but like for each Conforto, I can point to multiple Hanigers, right? Multiple Alex Woods. So, it's interesting. I didn't expect this team to compete for a championship, but they're showing progress. And what I mean by progress is I'm seeing young guys, but that's how devoid of young talent they were over the last couple of years. They are playing an interesting brand of baseball. For example, the other night, and I just want to go over this real quick. They got runners on first and second. Lamont Wade bunted in this was, I believe, Friday night. Bunted the at bat prior, and he's bunting in a 2-0 count. What are we doing?
It was weird. Yeah,
it was so weird. And so I guess my question is, like, you had such very specific baseball principles heading into, these rule changes and everything, and they bunted now more than ever. But why are you bunting in that situation? Like, it's your number 3 hitter, a guy who's been swinging the bat well all year, and you're going to, give up an out? Like, what? Again, and, some of the things they do don't make rhyme or reason. Today was Jock Peterson's bobblehead day. He couldn't start in left field. Like, no one's losing their mind because Kyle Freeland, a lefty's on the mound, and you're going to start Jock, and he doesn't really hit lefties that well. It's his bobblehead day, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I mean, with the Lamont Wade thing, that was definitely a curious situation. I remember seeing that play out, and it felt like it sucked the momentum the Giants had, because it was right after the Crawford hit that 2-run home run. Exactly. They get 2 more guys on. You're thinking, oh, you got something going here. And that double play, it wasn't a double play, but that bunt, it felt like it sucked the momentum that the Giants had that inning. And I did ask Gabe Kapler after that game, what was the deal there? Was that the plan? Did you call for that? Did Lamont do that? And he's like, no, that was a Lamont Wade Jr. call. And he reaffirmed that, we trust Lamont Wade to make, the right call in that decision. I don't know. Maybe there's an alternate universe where he gets the bunt down and you have second and third with 1 out, and Diddy Davis does something afterwards. I don't know. It was a weird decision. It was a weird decision. I don't know why you make that decision. Maybe in the future, don't. It's like, maybe just don't do that again.
But that's where I want someone to press Gabe Kaplan. Like, did you think it was the right decision? Not we trust him to do the right decision. Did you think that was the right decision? And I think that's where I get a little frustrated at times watching the Giants, because they tell me about how smart they are and how analytically driven they are and how they're going to be ahead of the curve and they're going to stick to their principles. The hell are you doing in that situation? That's where my baseball mind just doesn't line up with their thoughts.
Yeah, and this is why I always say that Joe Shasky needs to be using his press pass to come to games so we can get these hard-hitting questions that the rest of Giants media doesn't want to answer. Again, sticking with the theme of positives, though, I do think that the big positive that I really am taking away from this first half, it's the bullpen, especially after how rocky things were in that first month. It looked ugly in that first month. I think the bullpen had like a 6-some ERA in April. Part of that was because of that Mexico City trip, which we all agree we shouldn't really count the numbers from that. But the way they've bounced back since then, I mean, especially with the Rogers brothers, Tyler, remember how much Tyler was getting dragged through the mud last year. And him and Taylor have really been nails in the back end of that bullpen. And Scott Alexander, we finally got him back this week. He's been great all year. I'm loving what we're seeing from Ryan Walker. And again, it all leads into the All-Star and Camilo Doval. And Shasty, the Giants there, I believe they're 35-3 when leading after 8 innings, 34-6 when leading after 7. Those numbers might not be exact, but the point is, when you're leading late when this team's leading late, you feel so good. And that's a big component of this team, especially for a team that's just struggling with the starting rotation right now. The fact that they have so many guys at this bullpen that they can turn to and get quality innings out of is a big reason why I think the Giants have a winning record right now going into the All-Star break.
Well, let's work backwards. Camilo's been outstanding. Most saves at a break, and for how long? 10 years?
Yeah.
For a Giant?
Yeah. Is that true?
It feels like it.
It sounds like 25 saves, leads Major League Baseball. I mean, he's as automatic as Brian Wilson was sort of at times.
Well, Santiago Casilla, if you look up, I believe he has like 100 career saves. Like Casilla quietly is on that list. I think people kind of underrated his contributions.
Sergio Romo too, kind of up there as well.
Well, but like he's been a superstar. The Rogers brothers, I know they both served one up the other night. They both had a hand in that. But they've been excellent. I think that Brebbia, before he got hurt, was excellent. Scott Alexander coming back, like good to see him back. I thought he was good before he got hurt. I just look around that entire, what's the guy? Wins, excuse me.
Keaton Wynn, yeah.
He's been really good. There's been a lot of different random contributions. Jackson at times, even though he's only been used a couple of times, I thought he's looked good thus far.
Yeah.
I just feel like the bullpen as a whole is much more stout than I gave it credit for heading into the year.
Yeah, and so obviously the key is we could talk about the starting pitching in a second when we get into our negatives of the season because we're definitely going to have some thoughts there.
Do you consider Manaea a bullpen guy?
Well, I guess that's actually kind of where I was going to go to is with Sean Manaea. I've really liked what he's been doing lately, but it's all been out of the bullpen. Yeah. I would like to see them with a team where you have basically 2 good starting pitching options, and you're dabbling with Stripling, you're dabbling with Wood, DeSclafani's been battling fatigue. And I understand, maybe why the Giants want to dabble with those guys because, again, in this case of Stripling, they invested that money into him, but you also invest that money into Manaea. And I don't understand why they don't want to give Manaea another shot in the starting rotation. Maybe they just really feel that he's better handling that bulk role in the bullpen or coming in after an opener. Ryan Walker goes out and then, you have Manaea come in. The Giants have been very good. I think another positive is just how well the Giants have deployed the opener.
I agree with. I agree with.
I feel like a lot of Giants fans a few years ago would have been so anti-opener. I remember when Farhan first got here, there was talk of, the opener being used. And I remember Jeff Samardzija was asked about that at FanFest. And he's like, I don't want people taking my innings like that. And this was back at a time when Jeff Samardzija was getting lit up in the first inning. And fans were like, yeah, no, fight for that first inning. You don't need to give it up. But I feel like Giants fans are a lot more accepting of the opener now because of how the way the Giants have used it. And the reason the Giants have had so much success with it is because of, in part, guys like Sean Manaea, Tristan Beck, Alex Wood from time to time, these bulk guys coming in and handling that load. So, yeah, really credit to for making us embrace the opener. Before we move on, Shasky, who would you say is your MVP of the first half for the Giants?
Wow. I'm going to go Camilo Doval, slightly over JD Davis, who's slightly over Patrick Bailey.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to go with Lamont Wade Jr. as my MVP right now, mainly because he's a tone setter atop that lineup. He really is. And when you have a line, he doesn't seem like your prototypical leadoff guy, but I'll be damned. He's been doing a great job. When you got a guy like that setting the tone atop a lineup like that, that really is just a ton of value there. If he played at a different position, maybe he would have been looked at more closely as an all-star. You're always buried at first base there.
Yes.
But I'm going to give Lamont Wade Jr. my MVP of the first half. Who would you say is your surprise performer of the first half?
Lamont Wade Jr. By far. Lamont Wade Jr. by far. I didn't expect him to play that good defensively at first base, nor did I expect him to play that well. At the leadoff spot, he's been outstanding, right?
Yeah. No, I agree there. I'm gonna. You took my MVP as a surprise. I'm going to take one of your MVPs as a surprise. I'm going to go with JD Davis. I was not really sure what to make of JD Davis when the Giants got him last year. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, is he young? No, he's my age, whatever. I guess that's still considered young, but it was just like, okay, it seems like a solid bottom of the order bat. I did not see him becoming one of the key cogs in this lineup this year. Obviously, he had the home run today. The dude he hasn't slowed down.
Yes.
He's been incredibly consistent all year long. I think he should have been an all-star. He's been, he's top 5 in almost every single offensive category.
Wow.
And just an unfortunate snub there. Part of that might be East Coast bias. And also, let's be honest, outside of San Francisco, who is JD Davis?
That's true.
But no, I really like what I've seen from him. I want to see this keep going. I love seeing him in the middle of the order. And he's been helping my fantasy team out too, which I'm always up for that. Really quick before we move on, lastly, you had to pick a moment of the first half. What would be your moment of the first half?
That's a tough one. My moment of the first half. Jeez Louise.
Here, I'll go first and give you a second to think. For me, it's probably Yaz's home run when the Giants were down to their last strike in St. Louis.
Okay.
I remember I was leaving the station at that time. I'm driving and he's hitting with 2 outs and he's got 2 strikes and the Giants are losing. I'm thinking, man, how wild would it be if he went deep right here just to make this game go longer and make us hope, that they might win. And then he went deep right there and made the game go longer. And all of a sudden I'm hoping they might win. And the Giants did win that game. And that was right in the middle of just all the comebacks that they were having. And that was just one of those moments where it's just like, I always say, like, when you could predict when the Giants are going to screw up, things are bad. But when you could predict when the Giants are going to do something good, that's such a great feeling. And so that was just, for me, that was my big happy moment. There's a lot of them, but that was my moment for me.
Well, I'm going to go with Luis Matos, not necessarily for just the home run, but what the home run signified. Second youngest player in baseball in terms of everyday player, hitting a home run, who's an outfielder from the Giants system. I thought it was a monumental moment, and it feels like he's starting to stick. And I think that he's going to play the rest of the year, and I'm really excited about him. He had a nice hit the other day. I don't believe he played today. I forget.
No, he was in lineup today. Yeah,
he was. Yeah, his at-bats were very unmemorable as I was slipping back.
It was a very fast, and it was a very fast game where not a lot was going on. So
yeah, I was watching the Women's U.S. Open and the Giants game simultaneously. So
that's how you know it was a fun one.
what did he do? 0 for 3 today?
Yeah, not many people were hitting today. So
yeah. So, I really like where Luis Matos is at, and I'm going to go with his home run. And I know that might seem like a cop-out. I think there's an argument to be made for what Logan Webb did today. I mean, This team needed to win this series coming out and to have a complete game shutout, 10 Ks, right into the All-Star break as they get 4 or 5 days off. Everyone can take a deep breath. That's what aces do. That's what they do.
Agree.
They shove when the team needs a win in a rubber match.
I agree there.